Imagine a secret fund so massive it could buy every single NFL team, every MLB team, and still have enough left over to give every person in the United States a check for $300. We are talking about $100 billion. And this isn't the treasure of some mythical dragon or a tech billionaire side project. This is the reported wealth of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, commonly known as the Mormon Church. How did a church, a non-profit organization, amass a fortune that rivals the world's largest hedge funds? And what were they planning to do with it? The answer is more surprising and controversial than you could ever imagine. To understand this story, we need to go back to the very foundation of the church. Since the 1830s, a core tenet for faithful members has been the law of tithing. It's a simple, yet profound principle. Give 10% of your income to the church. For nearly 2 centuries, millions of members, from Salt Lake City to Sao Paulo, have faithfully donated a portion of their earnings. They do this out of devotion, believing their contributions are building God's kingdom on earth, funding temples, missionary work, educational programs, and humanitarian aid. The church teaches that tithing is a sacred obligation, a test of faith that brings both spiritual and temporal blessings. For generations, members have trusted that their money was being used for good, to help the needy and spread their message. They saw the beautiful temples, the thousands of missionaries, and the vast welfare programs, and they believed their sacrifices were making a difference. But what if that wasn't the whole story? What if a huge portion of that money wasn't being spent at all? This is where our story takes a sharp turn, into the secretive world of high finance. Meet Ensign Peak Advisors. Ever heard of them? Probably not. And that was by design. Ensign Peak is a highly secretive investment firm, registered as a non-profit supporting entity to the Mormon Church. It was created in 1997 to manage and grow the church's surplus tithing funds. For over 2 decades, it operated in near total anonymity, its connection to the church deliberately obscured. Its office is located just across the street from the church's headquarters in Salt Lake City, but its name doesn't appear on the building directory. Employees are reportedly required to sign lifetime non-disclosure agreements. This wasn't your typical church investment committee managing a modest endowment. This was a Wall Street-level operation, quietly growing a portfolio that would eventually swell to an astonishing $100 billion. The funds were invested in stocks, bonds, real estate, and more, managed by seasoned financial professionals. All of this happened completely out of public view, and, more importantly, out of the view of the church's own members. The secret couldn't last forever. In 2019, a whistleblower, a former senior portfolio manager at Ensign Peak named David Nielsen, came forward. He filed a detailed report with the IRS, alleging that the church had misled its members and the public about the massive fund. He claimed that for 22 years, not a single dollar from this $100 billion investment fund had been distributed for any charitable or religious purpose. Instead, the money was simply being reinvested and stockpiled. Nielsen's allegations sent shockwaves through the media and the Mormon community. He wasn't just an outsider making accusations. He was an insider, a faithful member who had managed the very money he was now exposing. He felt a moral obligation to reveal what he saw as a betrayal of trust. The church, which had always projected an image of financial prudence and charity, was now facing accusations of hoarding wealth on an unprecedented scale. The fallout was immediate and significant. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, launched an investigation. What they found was a deliberate, multi-year effort to hide the size of the portfolio. The SEC revealed that to avoid public disclosure requirements, Ensign Peak and the church had created 13 shell LLCs, or limited liability companies. These companies were set up in different locations, with names that gave no hint of their connection to the church. They would file the necessary forms, making it appear as if the investments were spread across many smaller, unrelated firms. This complex shell game allowed the true size and scope of Ensign Peak's holdings to remain a secret for years. In February 2023, the scheme came to an end. The SEC charged both the church and Ensign Peak with disclosure failures and misleading the public. The church agreed to pay a $5 million penalty to settle the charges. While $5 million is pocket change for an entity with $100 billion, the reputational damage was immense. The church, a pillar of moral authority for its members, had been caught using shell companies to obscure its finances from the government and its own followers. So, this brings us to the billion-dollar question, or rather, the $100 billion question. Why? Why would a church, whose mission is charity and spiritual guidance, secretly amass such a staggering fortune? When the story broke, The church initially responded by stating the funds were a rainy day account for lean times. This is a common practice for large organizations. But as the pressure mounted, a far more extraordinary reason came to light. Church leaders, including a member of the highest governing body, the presiding bishopric, explained that the fund was being reserved for the second coming of Jesus Christ. Yes, you heard that right. The $100 billion fund was essentially a war chest for the end of the world. The logic was that in the tumultuous times preceding and following Christ's return, the church would need vast resources to continue its operations, to help people, and to rebuild society. It was a justification rooted in deep-seated Mormon theology, but to the outside world, and even to many members, it sounded like something out of a science fiction novel. The church wasn't just saving for a rainy day, it was saving for the apocalypse. This revelation has sparked a profound ethical debate, both inside and outside the church. On one hand, you have faithful members who trust their leaders implicitly. They believe the church is guided by divine revelation and that preparing for future events, no matter how distant, is a prudent and righteous thing to do. But on the other hand, a growing number of critics, including many current and former members, are asking tough questions. They point to the immense, unmet needs in the world right now. With $100 billion, how many hungry people could be fed? How many diseases could be cured? How many homeless people could be sheltered? They argue that stockpiling wealth for a future, prophesied event while people are suffering in the present is a moral failure. It seems to contradict the very teachings of Jesus, who emphasized caring for the poor and the needy here and now. Is it right to ask a struggling single mother in a developing country to pay 10% of her meager income, only for that money to be invested in the stock market and saved for the second coming? The story of the Mormon Church's secret fund is a complex tapestry of faith, finance, secrecy, and eschatology, the theology of end times. It forces us to confront difficult questions about the role and responsibility of religious institutions in the modern world. Where is the line between prudent financial planning and hoarding? What is the true purpose of tithing and charitable giving? And what obligations do religious organizations have to be transparent with their own members and the public? There are no easy answers. The church maintains it acted in good faith and continues to be a major force for charitable good around the world, donating billions over the years. Yet, the existence of this massive, secret fund has undeniably shaken the trust of many. It's a powerful reminder that even in the realm of faith, questions of money, power, and transparency are never far away. The story is far from over, and its repercussions will likely be felt within the church and the wider world for years to come. What do you think? Was this a wise act of preparation or a betrayal of trust? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world.